What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome in to episode 333. Nice little palindrome episode of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course, viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network, covering everything PLL, NLL, NCAA, and of course, the Women's Unleashed game as well, which just got started up this past weekend. That was a bad omission by us. Forgot to mention that they were kicking things off, but they are back in action, which is exciting to see. And it's a nice little like mid-season of PLL, and then we have more lacrosse to look forward to. So we'll recap some of the Unleashed action going on as well, because we got some awesome people lined up, hopefully from the Women's Unleashed game coming on the show soon. So we'll talk some Unleashed later on in the show, but we got a lot to talk about, recapping everything from Fairfield and Throwback Weekend. We'll get into, are both DJ and I, and maybe even Chase, hitting the panic button a little bit with our squads, because it is not all sunshine and rainbows in Waterdogs and Redwoods and some parts of Whipsnakes Nation. But we will talk about that in our San Diego preview portion of everything as we get set for a new venue and a new market for the PLL for the first time. We'll get into previewing the matchups and all the games. DJ's going through it with his NLL fandom. We'll get into that, and our pals at the Ottawa Black Bears had their jersey reveal, so we'll analyze the new unis and the new threads for the Ottawa Black Bears and give our takes on those. Plus, we'll talk a little Unleashed as well. But before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook. You can follow Underground Sports Philadelphia on LinkedIn as well. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline, and follow Hoots at Hoot Sport Media. You can also make sure you're subscribed to the pod. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow, helps more people find Outside the Box, Underground Sports Philadelphia, and everything we got going on the network. So be sure to subscribe on Apple and Spotify. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. It's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content from across the Underground Sports Philadelphia multiverse. It's all on that YouTube channel. Smash the like button, ring the bell icon, leave a comment down below your thoughts on everything we discuss on the episode. And, of course, subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. That's where you get all that lacrosse-centric content coming from us that isn't necessarily the podcast episode, big interviews that we do on site. OTB Live is over there if you missed out on that. And we are going to start putting our Hero of the Week videos for Shootout For Soldiers on that channel as well. So go subscribe, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. And of course, like I mentioned, Shootout For Soldiers, this show is presented by Shootout For Soldiers. And Deej, I gotta say, we'll have the video coming out in the next couple of weeks or so once I get the recording from Dana. She's going to be doing the voiceover for our Hero of the Week segment for her grandfather. What an awesome job Shootout For Soldiers, PLL Assists, and the entire PLL did for Dana and her entire family and Kyle, honoring their grandfather this weekend in Fairfield for the Hero of the Week. It was like I had chills And I'm sure part of that is just, like, knowing Dana and Kyle and how special it was, but, like, seeing Dana's dad react to everything, because obviously, uh, it was his father, um, but they also had, like, this awesome, like, wood-carved flag that nobody knew was, like, being presented to them, and it had, like, all of, like, the information about, like, the time that he served, like, his birthday, and the date that he passed away on it. It was, like, such a cool, like, piece to, like, give to a family like that, and it was super well done. We have, an awesome video with that coming out soon that you won't wanna miss, but, just so cool to see all of that, like, in person and finally, like, be field side for that moment, because obviously most of the time we're up in the press box and we don't necessarily have the field access because ESPN and ABC and everybody down there, and obviously PLL employees have that first dibs, but to be down there and you know how Fairfield is set up obviously, and to be field side for that was so cool, such a like awesome moment. And Shootout for Soldiers, their mission is Lacrosse Uniting for veteran support, and their mission is to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. With over a decade of dedicated collaboration from local communities, lacrosse players, and the U.S. military, Shootout for Soldiers has emerged as a highly regarded industry partner, offering an unmissable and eagerly anticipated event. This weekend is their Canandaigua event, which is going to be unbelievable. I think this is the weekend that they do the mascot game, so everyone gets dressed up in their costumes and everything. It's a really cool spectacle. Um, Established in 2012 as a high school project, this event has experienced remarkable growth in both reach and impact, raising over $5 million to champion veteran service organizations and unwavering dedication to their mission. With over 7,500 attendees and over 2,500 players, it's just an awesome experience if you have the opportunity to do so. Click the link in the description, see how you can get involved with Shootout for Soldiers by either registering for one of their premier events like Canandaigua, like Virginia, like Baltimore, being able to volunteer, register for the event, how you can donate, and how you can support Shootout for Soldiers in a multitude of ways. And of course, Shootout for Soldiers is also the presenting sponsor of our Hero of the Week segment in collaboration with Shootout for Soldiers and PLL Assists. Um, just an awesome, awesome opportunity this weekend in Canandaigua. If you're around, please go support, donate, volunteer, and of course, they still have their event in Virginia, I believe, at the beginning of September or beginning of August. I'm sorry, August 3rd and 4th is Virginia, and then September 7th and 8th in Baltimore. So definitely check that out. Plus, Deej, I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you did because you're like me and you're chronically online. The biggest announcement with Shootout for Soldiers to date, they announced the Stars and Stripes, the Battle of the Badges, I'm sorry, on September 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, ahead of the PLL semifinals, where it'll be the New York Police Department against the Fire Department in New York. The NYPD versus FDNY men's lacrosse game on 9/11 weekend symbolizes remembrance and solidarity, honoring the bravery and sacrifice of those who serve. It brings together two community pillars in a tribute to the spirit of unity and resilience born from that tragic day. All first responders can claim a complimentary ticket to Battle of the Badges. Your ticket will include access to both PLL semifinals games. You can claim your ticket at pllsemis.com. And that's all in collaboration with Shootout for Soldiers. Awesome opportunity. Very excited. And now that semifinal weekend is on September 7th, we should be able to go. Because before, I was not going to be able to attend, but we'll be able to be in attendance, and it's going to be an awesome time. But shout out to Shootout for Soldiers for being our presenting sponsor of the pod. Deej, let's get into it. Let's recap old Fairfield. It was a time and a half this past weekend. Always love being back at Fairfield. The celebs were out. Chris Kreider was back in President's Row. Dan Orlovsky was in the building, and it was a doozy of a time. Love being at Fairfield. Got to catch up with the boy Connor Eck. Dan Arestia was there. We had two photographers from Avon Old Farms doing some stuff for us that we'll have photos going up soon. But But yeah, it was an awesome time. But obviously not a great time for our teams that we have latched our fandom to. But the weekend went a little something like this. The Outlaws win 15-13 over the Waterdogs. Chaos get a 10-9 overtime win by the power of South Jersey, baby. Shane Knobloch coming through for the Carolina Chaos. The Boston Cannons get that revenge over the New York Atlas as Jeff Teat breaks the all-time single season scoring record in that game, but gets held goalless, and the Cannons win 17-12. And then the Utah Archers, I don't know if you heard the story or not, Deej. I'll get to it when we talk about that game, but it was quite a thrill on the sidelines, like journeying through something that built up to that game. But the Archers win 15-8 over the Redwoods. Should we start with your Redwoods as you are getting ready to push the panic button? I'll tell the story here. Did you know that Brett Dobson arrived 45 minutes before the game time?
Yes. Yes, I did know that.
He was in Atlanta because he was doing Paul Rabel's camps, and he literally had 6 flights get canceled and was in the air during the Cannons Atlas game. His gear got sent to a different airport, so Packy had to go and pick up his gear from that airport as Dauber's landing and gets ready and has one hell of a game against the Redwoods. But Deej, it's not looking good for the Cali boys.
No, it's looking more than just not good. It's I don't know how to put it either, because it's not like it's this huge situation quite yet, but like they've never really become the Redwoods yet this year. Like, sure, if you look at every year, they've started a little slow, but then they kicked it into gear and have been the Redwoods team we're used to them being. Just not the case this year. They're still flat. To me, the defense has played great, honestly. Them and Jack Kelly / Chase Erlin, who hasn't played a ton, but he did get some tick, have done a very good job of keeping the Redwoods in games. There's not a lot of games the Redwoods are getting embarrassed in. They're competing in these games, and a lot of that has to do with TD Erlin and the defense and the goalies. They're doing a great job at keeping these games competitive. TD's giving the offense plenty of opportunities by giving them possession. The defense is making stops. The goalies are making saves and getting the ball out. But if they're not producing on the offensive end, they can do all of that all they want, but eventually they're going to lose. There's a reason Coach Resch gives out ice cream when his team does so well defensively. Because if your team is doing that well defensively, your offense only has to do so much. You're making it so much easier for your offense to be successful. The Redwoods are doing that. But when they're having to play 30 minutes of defense in a 48-minute game, 35 minutes of defense in a 48-minute game, they're not going to be successful no matter how good they're playing. And that's really what all of this comes back to. Is we were talking about it a little bit off pod. The Redwoods are a team of guys just trying to make it work. There's no identity to the Redwoods. Like, there's no style of play. Every team has their style of play, and the Redwoods don't have one. They're just playing lacrosse.
Yeah, the one thing that stood out to me was as I was waiting in the press conference room in Fairfield, that like this normally doesn't happen in a game that is so like one-sided like this one was, where the Archers almost doubled up the Redwoods. Obviously, it comes down to looking at 2 stats here, but it is fascinating to look at. The Archers outshot the Redwoods 51-38 in this game. But the time of possession, Deej, was a 5-second difference. The Archers had the ball for 22 minutes and 10 seconds. The Redwoods had the ball for 22 minutes and 5 seconds. I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen that time of possession, equivalence, like be that close, where the Archers literally had it for 0.2% more of the time, but the shot disparity being that wide at the same time.
I don't know what to say about it other than the same thing I've been saying all year, and I'm beating a dead horse. Like, I sound like, oh, what's that other one?
A broken record.
A broken record. Yes, thank you. I was trying to find the words. Yeah, I literally sound like a broken record by saying the offense has to find a way to keep themselves and the ball moving. It's one guy dodging, 5 guys standing, the ball doesn't move, and there's no real like good shot opportunities coming out of it. And that's why they're not putting balls in the back of the net. It's literally that simple. And somehow they still haven't been able to figure it out. They did a little bit better moving that piece of Westberg coming out of the box every run and just heading inside. So you have 3 actual attackmen down low. Well, I shouldn't say actual, but you have 3 outside threats that can dodge and move the ball rather than pigeonholing yourself to having Westberg on the inside. And then you can still run him out of the box and get that same look. It's really made things difficult.
Weird game for TD too. Like non-traditional game from him that we have seen from him all year. Sis kind of bounced back in a big way for them. The other thing that I took away from this game, and I really enjoy him and I really want to get him on the show. I love seeing Matt Moore like back doing Matt Moore things and like finding his footing again. Because obviously, like to start the season, he was struggling a lot, and that's been well documented. And Bates even said like that's a well documented thing. Matt Moore struggled, in the first half of the year, and I asked Matt about it in the press conference, and he said, it's one of those things that like it can get in your head, but when you have somebody, and he said, to have somebody like Tom Schreiber there to help you and like lean on and like to just like get advice from and know that like you have the ability to get yourself out of it is a great sign. And when Matt Moore is clicking for this team, the Archers are a juggernaut of an offense. Connor Fields is, if Jeff Teat doesn't exist, we're talking about Connor Fields being, he still probably will be an MVP candidate. Will he win it? Probably not, just because of the unbelievable season Jeff Teat is having. But Connor Fields is on fire. Tom Schreiber's having another Tom Schreiber, elite caliber season out of the midfield. When you have Mac O'Keefe launching from any angle possible, and then Matt Moore is starting to do what he's capable of doing. Oh, and let's not forget, Grant Ament has been healthy all season, knock on wood. Like this Archers offense is lethal. And when they're clicking on all cylinders, it's tough to stop them because you can only have so many guys out on defense to cover so many options for them. And then let's not forget that, Connor Marr and Piper Bond are also figuring out their footing offensively, and Piper's been scoring goals this year for them. Like they are an unbelievable force when they are clicking on all cylinders, and to find their footing right now, like they've obviously had a couple bumps in the road this year. But man, when that Archers offense is clicking, they are fun to watch.
And it's something about all the different pieces that they have in the offense. Like they found a way to have every piece that you need in an offense in one of their guys, and they all kind of understand their roles but they also all understand kind of when it's their turn to do something. Like Ryan Ambler's a great example of that. He's a guy
I didn't even mention.
He comes around and he sets picks, he stays active, he moves the ball, but when it's his turn to dodge and shoot, he knows it. No one has to tell him, he just goes and does it. Like there's just this sense of flow and being that exists within the offense that makes it so easy for them to compete.
Yeah, they're so fun to watch, especially in person. Some of the other games, the Cannons, what a performance. This team is two 2-pointers away from breaking the single season record for 2-pointers made by a team.
They are.
I asked Coach Holtman about this. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the press conferences in the app. I asked him about it. I was like, it feels like you give everyone the green light to launch a 2 if they have the shot. And he came back and said, yeah, pretty much everyone except Zach Goodrich has the green light to shoot a 2.
What did Zach do?
He was like, and he knows that.
Goody.
So I can't wait to save that for when Zach Goodrich has the opportunity to launch a 2 and does.
And makes it.
Makes it. And it's like, oh, he's like the Colin Squires of Boston Cannons. Because we were talking about how like Jeff Traynor just popped off in this game, and we were like, Coach Holman said somebody on the sideline was yelling like yellow. It's like, we don't even have a yellow call, and trainer just launches one, and we're like, no, and then it goes in, and you're like, yes, and then you look like a genius.
That is the key to coaching right there.
They did an unbelievable job shutting down this Atlas offense. Like, to hold Jeff Teat goalless is a feat in and of itself. And to
Stop right there. Brian, I know you listening. You hear that? He did what to Jeff Teat? No goals? But he don't deserve no depoy.
He got no goals.
But Garrett Apple just he just be out here hurting people.
That
he
was
don't know
one
how
of
to
his,
play no defense.
That was one of his best games
Ever.
I've seen him ever play.
Ever.
Like, hands down.
And he still picked up a penalty in this game. So it's not like he didn't do anything wrong.
Xander Dixon didn't have a shot until the second half, which was unreal. And Connor Schellenberger was a no-show in this game. So, like, the defensive collective as a whole from the Cannons was remarkable. Kirsty stood on his head in cage for them. But, I mean, on the Atlas side of things, like, obviously you never want to lose, but congratulations to Jeff Teat. Like, that's just, like, sicko mode hours of what he's been able to accomplish this year. I know in the press conference he said, sorry to keep it short and sweet, but it means nothing to me. Jeff Teat is the ultimate competitor, and he is like a silent assassin, and he's very quiet, but he has really been like, vocal this year in press conferences, which has been a lot of fun to kind of like peel back a layer of Jeff Teat. It means something to Jeff. It's because they lost. Jeff hates losing, and I guarantee if the Atlas would have won this game, we would have gotten a more reactionary response that still would have ended up saying, it doesn't mean that much, but it's pretty cool type of thing. But yeah, I mean, you could see it on Jeff's face in the press conference. One, he did not want to be in that press conference, and two, he was pissed that they lost that game.
I can believe that 100%. Jeff's very, very competitive. And I was gonna say, I saw that quote come out because I think I seen it on like a tweet or something, and I was like,
yeah, I think Lauren tweeted because she asked the question about it.
I was like, I've been there, like
it felt like everyone in the press conference too was like holding off asking that question, and Lauren like was like, all right, I'm the beat writer, I gotta ask this, which I can't knock her for. Like, it's a question you have to ask. It was just unfortunate circumstance that they lost the game.
Yeah, like, I mean, I've been in positions, mostly coaching, where like, well, I haven't had a great season as a high school coach. Like, my team is just not quite competitive yet, but we'll like do something like beat a team we've never beat before. And people are like, well, how does that feel? And I'm like, it's cool. But like, at the same time, it's like, I want this team to compete. I don't just want them to beat a team for the first time. And like, that's the thing we hang our hat on at the end of the year. I want us winning playoff games and looking to compete for a state title. So like, I kind of understand that point from him. Like, dude, does that mean something to me? Yeah. I brought my high school team and we beat a program we've never beat before. That puts me over the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, my high school team hasn't really gotten that much better to where I feel really excited about beating that team. So he's like, yeah, we won. Or yeah, I set the record, but we lost. Like, does that record mean something to me? Of course. My name's in the record books. I will be able to look at that until it's broken or forever, whatever the case may be, and be happy about that. But at the end of the day, in this very moment, I'm pissed the hell off we lost.
Yeah. The cool story from this game, though, Logan McGovern, hello, welcome to the PLL. What an awesome story. Like, to have that happen in your backyard where you score your first goal and are able to showcase your talents to the league.
I agree. So, I'm leaving. Okay. All right, bye. Have a good weekend.
For Logan McGovern to showcase his talents to the league in his backyard, scores the first goal of the game for the Atlas. for the coach that recruited him to Bryant was a really cool story. And like, if you don't know the Logan McGovern story, Kevin Boyler did a great breakdown of it on TLN. So definitely go check that out. Like, he has cystic fibrosis. That's unbelievable odds for him to overcome in a sport where your lungs are crucial. It was really cool to see Logan like give the New York Atlas a different look out of the midfield, and Coach Pressler brought that up as well, where like they are big in the midfield. When you have somebody like Miles Jones, sometimes Xander down there in the midfield, and Brian Costabiel is not small whatsoever.
Doc Sakin is not small.
And sometimes when he's not on the protected roster, Dylan Malloy is playing the midfield for them. Like, they are a big midfield, and Logan McGovern is like my height, and he's out there shifty and able to kind of like make his way around.
That sound like something I said about the Redwoods, or am I just crazy?
You might have said it a couple times.
Just making sure I wasn't saying anything wild or anything. Like, you need speed somewhere in your lineup when you got a bunch of big guys. But
yeah,
what do I know?
He was super fun to watch, and I hope we get to continue watching Logan McGovern in the PLL. And
I mean, his what was that? His second goal that was just nasty.
Oh yeah, the diving shot.
Yeah. I was like, hello.
Everyone lost their minds. It was crazy,
and it was funny for me because all of my tweets about this weekend were so out of context.
Oh yeah, I was like, bro, go to bed.
Because I watched at the wildest of times.
Bro, you were watching like the Waterdogs game at 3 a.m. and I'm like, bro, Patrick, put the Krabby Patty down. Go to sleep.
I finally had time to like watch some of it, and then I fell asleep on it, which was hilarious. So I had to like watch it again. But like, I was watching the Wild Times, and I just was like, nobody told me Logan did this from X. Like, I know I wasn't around all weekend, but hello, somebody want to tag me in something when something crazy happens? Like,
yeah, he was nice.
It was fun. I might just start doing that on a regular, just like watching at obscure times.
Bro, you gotta chill. You don't have the timeline thinking games are going on.
It's just it was so cool to just like throw my stuff out there, and like some people would like it or just like respond to it, and like I could tell they were like, dude, where have you been? It's like,
dude was in a hyperbaric chamber.
Literally.
Dude was frozen in carbonite like Han Solo all weekend. Comes out. It's like, it's been 84 years.
Now it's time for some lacrosse.
But yeah, Cannon's huge win. And then we're just going reverse order here. Friday night, the nightcap, Chaos Whipsnakes. Chaos get the dub again in Fairfield. In overtime, my guy, Shane Knobloch, South Jersey, represent, gets the OT winner. And sure, this game was gritty. It was low scoring. Ian McKay gets suspended this week because of it. But the first thing I have to bring up to you, Deej, is did you see the press conference?
I did not.
This weekend was a Hall of Fame press conference weekend. Because I believe it was our good pal Phil Shore asked Sandy Towers about Jack Posey and how he's been able to fit into the lineup and everything over the past couple weeks. To which AT goes on and does his typical AT rant about a player and how thrilled he is, and I'm sure he is. But this one was personal because he said he's been trying to set Jack Posey up with his rising star senior daughter at Penn State and has pitched the idea to his wife and said if that were to happen, it would be like 10 Christmases. To which Shane Knobloch lost his mind laughing. And I was praying he had some sip of the canned Gatorade in his mouth so that we could get an elite spit take in a press conference. It was by far one of the funniest moments of my PLL media career, watching Andy Towers wax poetic about Jack Posey and how he wants him to be set up with his daughter. It was pure comedy gold. And I don't think I've ever seen our good pal and head of PR at the PLL, Grace Hamilton's face so red from laughter in my life.
I'm upset I missed that. this job is going to make me blow my head off. I was supposed to be there this weekend.
Parody, YouTube.
Yes. That is full parody. I'm not for real. But like, I was supposed to be there this weekend. I was supposed to have experienced this in the full body, in-person experience. And instead, I don't get that. I just missed out. But no, that is probably the most AT thing ever. Why do you like this guy? Well, he's half decent at lacrosse, but I really want him to marry my daughter.
I gotta see if Hayden
like hold on, let me talk to you about Jack Posey. Do you know the type of kid Jack Posey? It just runs down all the best things about him that have nothing to do with lacrosse, and then gives a big slap chest to him on the way out the door. Like, that is the most AT thing ever. But Posey played great.
Unreal.
And he fits into
Here it is.
Jack Posey is a beast. I mean, that kid is he's as good as you need him to be. He's as tough as you need him to be. He's as bought in to this team as anybody I've ever been around. I mean, you're talking about a guy that we picked up in the supplemental draft who's been paying his way to travel to all of the away games as a 22, 23-year-old kid. His commitment is really unbelievable and unique. And we knew he was a good athlete. We knew he was a good player. We didn't know, or I didn't know, that he was that great of a teammate. To be honest with you, he again is humble. All he cares about is winning. But he is tough as shit, and he played an unbelievable game tonight against some guys that he knows pretty well. But again, you got to go out and you got to do it on the stage when it matters most, and he was phenomenal for us. Can't endorse him any more than that. The kid is an absolute, the biggest winner possible. My wife and I joke all the time about how I'm trying to connect my rising senior daughter at Penn State with Jack Posey. That would be like 10 Christmases in one shot if we could somehow make that connection.
Never change, 18. Never change.
Please don't.
Oh, it was the funniest shit ever, dude. Like, that minute and a half is just like, that's Andy Towers in a nutshell. Unbelievable. Shane Knobloch, though, what a win. And Chaos get a much needed win to keep their season going in the direction they want, and that's obviously being the number one seed in the West. The Whip Snakes, it felt very robotic for them most of the night from everything we were watching. They weren't really fluid offensively. Defense was solid, to hold the team to 9 goals in regulation, or 9 points, I should say, in regulation. And it was 9 goals, no 2-pointers. Is anything you could ever wish for in this league. And it was a weird, just offensive night for both teams, but in particular the Whip Snakes, when you're winning 16 faceoffs. You have more caused turnovers, you have less of your own turnovers, you have more shots on goal, you have more shots, and you pick up more ground balls than your opponent. It was just a weird game from them. Like, it's one of those things that you just chalk it up. Like, there's moments that they certainly wish they could have had back, but it's not like the Whip Snakes played bad. It was just a weird game for them.
I thought it was a boring game. I tweeted that, actually.
Outside of Ian McKay launching a haymaker on Brendan Krebs.
I want to know what he did or said. Yeah. Not excusing Ian's actions. Not saying that you should.
Ian has been suspended for this weekend.
Right. And I agree with the suspension and everything. In line with the rules of the game, that's a suspension and et cetera. And this isn't even just an Ian thing. This is a game of lacrosse thing. Guys don't just haul off and hit someone unless they've slashed them, cross-checked them, hit them too hard, something like that. They're defending a teammate or something was said.
Yeah.
Doesn't excuse the action, but it gives reason for the action, for why it happened. Used to, like, in my opinion, most of the time, you have to brush off what happens in a game and just play through it. But there are some things that happen that you can't just brush off. Or we're humans, so we all have reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
Some things just happen out of reflex. One thing for me, as a player, a coach, anything, something dirty happens, I black. The way I was brought up, defend.
Call me Connor Farrell. I black.
Literally, like I just black out, and it's just it happened to me in a college game. My teammate got cross-checked in the neck right next to me, and I dropped my stick immediately and swung. Gloves on, helmets on, everything. I just swung, hit him right in the face. Literally just like Ian. But it was reflex as a human. I saw something, and I was like, I need to protect my teammate, and boom, it happened. So I understand where Ian comes from, what happened, why it happened, but that does not mean I agree with it. But with that being said, it was an extremely boring game outside of that. It was kind of just there happening. There were no like super exciting goals. There were no really big hits. It was just a very simple lacrosse game, which is fine. I'm not discrediting it, but when you watch PLL, it's exciting. That's what draws everybody in. So it was just a really obscure game in that way. So it kind of was fitting that it came down to an overtime winner. And it was awesome to see, Knobber be the one to knock that down. Knobber and Dauber are going to be real problems in the future. Just in general, not even for their names, but just the way they play is going to be real problems for defenses moving forward. And the Whip Snakes they got to stretch out and decide to shoot a little more twos. Their hitting singles motto doesn't really work anymore because teams are hitting twos like crazy. That's kind of what it comes down to for them.
Yeah, and they really only have one guy, and that's Channy, and obviously
Tucker's back now. So.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I asked Stags about. Was like, how nice was it having him back in the lineup? And it's like, this is the first time since training camp that Tucker has been on a lacrosse field or picked up a lacrosse stick. Like, he just started running again last week. So he's still kind of like getting his footing under him for this season. And obviously, once he gets a little more comfortable just with himself after an injury like that, he'll be back going. But up until this point, it's been Channy who has been like their one and only two-bomb threat, and he's getting a little bit older, but Channy's still playing at an elite level. Like, you could have made the argument he could have been an all-star this year. But when Channy goes cold, you need somebody else to step up to give you that different dimension, and we'll get to that with the Waterdogs too. Like, you genuinely need, I don't know what number you would put it at, but I think you need 2 to 3 guys that you can rely on that can hit from range on a roster in the PLL. At a minimum.
2. Minimum 2.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. Minimum 1, preferred 2, maximum 3 or 4. And that's offensive guys. Your D guys can come in and provide supplement to that, but minimum to me, you only need 1. Because in my opinion, you naturally have that in some of your attackmen. If you have a shooting attackman, he can hit from 13 to 15. He can hit that. That's what he was hitting in high school, in college. They can hit it in the pros. So you automatically have 1 or 2 on field at all time. And then you have 1 to 3, maybe 4 in your midfield, depending on what kind of team you are. And things get very different. Because, look at Atlas, for example. Teat can hit from 2. Shelly can
not to.
Right. Shelly can hit from 2. Cormier can hit from 2. Obviously Costabile and Jones can hit from 2. Aiken can hit from 2. That's what, 6 or 7 guys right there alone. Plus their defense coming in to add with that with Kobe Smith and Carpenter, etc. Every team's got to have 2-point threats.
I do think that's something that has kind of killed Colin Heacock's game a bit. Is like, he could be so much more volatile and so much more of a threat and like valuable to any number of teams if he was hitting from range like he was in, 2021 when he was on Chrome. Like, he's like lost that some, and like we've seen guys lose it, like Perk last year with the Redwoods, like didn't score at all. And he comes out with a new team and he's yeeting all over the place before he got hurt. Like that's what you need. And I think that's something that like the Whips were hoping that they could rediscover with Colin Heacock this year, and it just hasn't clicked yet. Will it ever click? Who knows? But that's something I think like Colin Heacock's game is missing, and something that the Whips were like hoping they could rediscover for him, and it just hasn't happened.
I don't think they've given him enough dodging opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking him to play a lot off ball, which I get. You have TJ Malone, you have Zed, you have Matt, you have Channing, like you have all these guys, but look back at Heacock's playing days, all of them, club, high school, college, his time with the Bayhawks and such in the MLL. Even when he first started with Chrome, when it was Heacock on Peacock, he's a dodger.
Real ones know. Put hashtag Heacock on Peacock in the YouTube comment section.
Facts, but he's a dodger.
Yeah.
All of his best, like he gets his pot gets cooking and he gets going, and his game really shows when he can dodge. You get him going early, you give him 2, 3, 4 dodges within the first, 10, 15, 20 possessions. He's feeling good. He's ready to go. He's active, locked in, wants to shoot, wants to move the ball, wants to dodge hard. But when he's getting 1 out of every 6, 7 dodges, sometimes not even that, he's checked out. He can't get into his groove because his groove starts from dodging. For example, that's another reason why I think Romar Dennis hasn't been as good this year. He's not dodging like he's been used to. Even in the Atlas offense, he wasn't dodging and shooting a lot. A lot of times he dodged and moved it on. But that dodge and just trying to create that opportunity for him and having that sense of this is for me set his game up. He's not getting that with the Redwoods. I feel like there's somebody else that's kind of set up that way as well that isn't really getting it.
But then you look at it in an opposite take. You look at Miles Jones this year.
Yeah.
Where he's getting those opportunities, and it looks like a rejuvenated Miles Jones.
100% agree. He might have been the other person I thought of, but in the opposite direction. He is getting those opportunities, so it's starting to shine.
Which I did say last week, he could be fantasy steal of the week at 14 coins. 28 fantasy points, baby. He was carrying my team on his back because the rest of my team did not show up.
Question mark? I got a question for you, dog.
Did I jinx Jeff Teat? Probably.
Who won the group fantasy last week?
Congrats. Welcome to the club.
Thank you, sir. I needed those flowers because I balled out.
Did I jinx Jeff Teat by taking him for the first time in fantasy this week? And he had
probably
9 points? Maybe. Sources are asking.
Well, it's either you or it's our boy Mark. He went out there and was like, hey, if you ain't building around my man's right here, you're doing it wrong. And then he went out there and just Garrett Epple was like, oh, this show king?
Garrett Epple was like, Grimace, shut him down.
He did, though.
Unreal.
Fantastic game from Garrett.
Before we keep going, Deej, since you brought it up, perfect way to plug it. The PLL app. I was talking to our guy Brendan Coleman this weekend, and we're working on some fun stuff with us in the PLL app where, yes, we have our created fantasy group, but we are working on getting a public fantasy group for OTB in the PLL app. We're working on some different things with the code and all that good stuff. Let us know. Genuinely, like, we're curious because Brendan wasn't even sure because he said there is like a runtime on codes for the most part where they have to like turn them off or whatever. But it should be back on right now. But if it's not, let me know. Slide in my DMs if you haven't used it. Our app code OTBPOD, OTB Pod for 500 XP on your account. The PLL app is a game changer for us. Covering the league when we're on site, when we're at home, reading all the latest stuff from the beat writers, playing PLL fantasy, join our fantasy group. It is truly one of the coolest apps to just go into every day. I'm hoping, Deej, that there's a badge for a 100-day login streak. I'm dangerously close.
There's not.
Damn.
I'm already over that. I'm at almost 200. There's not a badge. Sorry.
We need to get that going. We need the streak badges.
I agree.
But the PLL app is truly a game changer, and if you're not using it, you're doing the PLL wrong. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to pll.app and use code OTBPOD in the redeem code section, and you should get 500 XP added to your account. Let us know if it's still active, but we are working on some fun stuff and some new stuff with the PLL app that I'm very excited about, including that public fantasy group. So stay tuned for that, but download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, and use code OTBPOD in the redeem code section for 500 XP on your account. Final bit of the Fairfield recap here. DC Outlaws get a 15-13 win over the Dogs, and I am here to say the Waterdogs have a 2-point problem, and our good pal Wyatt Miller wrote a fantastic article that is available in the PLL app, and he also tweeted the shot chart here. The Waterdogs have a 2-point problem, and it is more than just a problem. It's scary how much of a discrepancy it is. So the PLL 2-point percentages this year. Can you guess who the league low in 2-pointers this season in terms of attempted and scored?
Redwoods.
Incorrect. It would be the Philadelphia Waterdogs.
I say Waterdogs. They were my next guess. It was between the two.
They've converted the least amount or tied for least amount. It's tough to see here. But they have attempted only 10 2-pointers this year. Can you guess who leads the PLL in 2-point attempts this year?
I feel like this is a trick question. If it's, let me think about this for just a second. Cannons or Utah?
Well, in terms of teams, it is the Boston Cannons, but overall league leader in 2-point attempts, it is whoever is playing the Waterdogs. By a wide margin. The Cannons, team-wise, lead the league, obviously. 23.3 2-point attempts this season. Waterdogs' opponents have attempted 34.5 2-pointers this year against them and have converted 10 on the year. That is how many the Waterdogs have attempted this year. It's bad. And now the rest of the way it's Whips at 19.2 attempts, Chaos at 18.2, Outlaws at 17.6, Redwoods at 14.8. Kind of surprising, but I guess not because they do hit a lot of singles. Atlas at 14.3, Archers at 11.4, and then the Waterdogs at an even 10 on the attempts. Opponents have scored as many 2-pointers as the Waterdogs have attempted this year. One, that's weird because they have the guys that can do it. Number two, Dylan Ward can't save a 2-pointer to save his life right now. It's mind-boggling how bad he has been defending the two.
Yes.
And it's been just all season.
I mean, to me, it's been not even just the two. I just like he hasn't had a Dylan Ward year. There's a lot of shots that are getting by him that we're not used to seeing. And I don't know if it's guys are figuring him out a little bit. I don't know if it's something to do with, the changes up on defense throughout the first part of the year, so he wasn't able to get comfortable. I don't know if he can't see the ball for whatever reason from that far away, if he's getting screened. There's a number of possibilities, but it is clear that he's having trouble with the 2-ball this year.
And I mean,
and I say, in my opinion, the defense isn't pushing out as far either.
That's a problem too. which obviously you and I know circles back to new head coach Bill Tierney. Before we dive in more to that issue, just looking at the Waterdogs scores this year. Week 1, they lose 12-11. Brett Dobson goes nuclear in those final shot attempts as well that we witnessed, and they lose 12-11. So they lose by 1 there. Homecoming weekend, they lose that first game against the Cannons because Zach Tucci rips a 2 from fucking the logo. That's a 2-pointer discrepancy. And also, you chalk it up in Albany. Tom Schreiber hit that 2 late in the game as well. They lose to the Whipsnakes because guys are launching 2s. And Kieran McCardle, obviously, 99 out of 100 times makes that shot on the doorstep, and he just gets denied by Krebs. They win in Minnesota. Then we go to Boston, and the Cannons just wreak havoc and set a single game record for 2-pointers made in a game. And then this weekend, against the Outlaws, once again, the Waterdogs score their most 2-pointers on the season in a single game, but the Outlaws answer and then some and record 3 of their own.
Not just 3 of their own. Or no, sorry, wrong team. That was Denver that put 3 in a row. Not Denver, Boston that put 3 in a row. But yeah,
Graham
Denver,
Bundy Jr. hit 2 that were both over 100 miles an hour.
He had a laser.
And Tarafanko ripped one.
Tarafanko's was gross.
Nasty.
That whole sequence was crazy. And to me, that was where the game took its switch. Like that was where the momentum completely shifted. And it was almost like the Waterdogs gave up. Like I know they didn't. You could see it in their play and everything, but like it just seems like they weren't all the way there after that. Like they seemed defeated. Like, oh,
but even after that Terry 2-pointer, the Dogs went on a traditional Waterdogs run. They scored 3 1-pointers in a row, and then Connor Kelly got one of his 2-pointers of the game. One of his goals of the game. And like that was like, okay, like the Waterdogs are finding their way. And then Dalton Young scores one of his 5 points in this game. And then the Waterdogs score Connor Kelly right before half. But then coming out of halftime, another issue for this Waterdogs team. I don't know what is happening at halftime. And Coach Tierney said, that's on me. We got to be better prepared. Like, I get the coach speak and everything, but like something has to fucking change coming out of halftime. Because again, they just looked that's where for me it changed. Was halftime, they just looked like they didn't know a game was going on. Because out of halftime, Brennan O'Neill scores. Then Graham Bundy Jr. has one of his 2-pointers. Then Brennan O'Neill scores. Then Graham Bundy Jr. has his solo goal. But then they're kind of able to respond. And they get a goal by Matt Brandow. Zach Currier scores that ridiculous air gate. Michael Sauer scores. But then Dalton Young scores. And then Graham Bundy Jr. hits a 2 and reverses course again. And it's just like one of those things like if you are a defensive head coach and you are a defensive-minded coach, there's no excuse for you to be giving up 8 points in a quarter.
But it's not always to the coach. Sometimes the dudes just got to decide they're not going to get scored on. And that's what I meant by like, it seemed like they kind of gave up a little bit. Like they kind of stopped trying and weren't trying to be the dude that was going to make plays. And they kind of just handed the game to the Outlaws in that way. Like nobody wanted to, I don't want to say be there, but like.
Because that second quarter was one of, if not the best quarters of lacrosse the Waterdogs have played all year. They won the quarter 4-1. They hit a 2, played great defense, and then you come out in after halftime and you lose the third quarter 8-3, and that's where the game ended.
Yeah, that's a tough pill. That's a tough pill.
And I know he had a point in this game. He had an assist on the Connor Kelly 2-pointer. But again, Ethan Walker got 48 minutes of cardio to shoot 0%.
You be on bro head.
It's because I know what he's capable of. And I know how talented of a player he is and what he can do for this team and what we have seen him do for this team. He has just been lost.
This is one of those moments where I say it's not on the coach, it's on the player. He's got to wake himself up. It isn't like he hasn't had opportunities. I haven't seen him dodge. He's taken very few shots on the year. He's taken very few shots in the year. Like, he's not trying to help himself is what I'm saying. He's in some positions to do some things, but he's not taking advantage of those positions either. So who do you blame? In my opinion, not the coach.
Fewest touches of the season in this game for Ethan Walker.
Well, he was coming out of the box this game,
which 15 touches.
Does change things.
14 were passes. It's his first point since homecoming weekend against the Whips, when he had one of his 2 goals on the year and one of his now 3 assists on the year. Like, he's averaging less than a point per game played this year. Like, that just, like, for a guy of that caliber, and you know how big of an Ethan Walker fan I am, and I know how big of an Ethan Walker fan you are, and we know what type of player and how talented he is, I'm just starting to wonder, like, you know, he's younger, obviously, than some of the Bandits guys, but I'm wondering, like, if that NLL season and that run that the Firewolves went on just, like, has him gassed.
It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Where, like, he's not used to
that. Yeah.
Going that deep into a season like that and playing that many games at that physicality level. Like, it's different than a college season because it's field, obviously. But
yep.
I'm just starting to wonder if that's what is wrong with Ethan Walker.
Possibility, but, like, I just think to me, it's more of a mental thing. He's psyched out mentally. Like Matt Moore. Matt Moore was just, like, psyched mentally. And then a couple things went good for him, and he's, like, back. Oh, damn, I can't believe I just said that. He's just
how the turntables.
Exactly, how the turntables. That's how bad you sound. That's how bad I sound, honestly. Like, he's just playing good ball again. That's all. He's playing good ball again because he saw some things go his way. Shooters have to break the shooting curse by shooting. If you're not playing well, you got to try and make plays. Now, it doesn't mean overexert yourself, but if there's an opportunity that presents itself, you have to take it.
He has 10 shots on goal this season, which is the same amount he had his entire rookie season, which he only played 5 games. He's now played in 6 this year. He's got he's right near, it's still below his career average, but he's shooting 63% on goal. His career average right now, and I don't know if this gets factored in. I mean, I guess I could do the math to figure it out pretty easily. Right now, his career shot on goal percentage is 65%. So it's not like he's, like, off his career trajectory. He's a little bit off of what he was last year at 72, but again, that's a career year. But let me see if that's in. Yeah, so it doesn't include this year. So he's like right below his career average on shots on goal percentage. The issue is he's shooting 13%. He's not seeing the shot that we traditionally know Ethan Walker to have. Like, his worst shooting percentage of his career was last year, but again, he was taking shots. He had 57 shots last year, but he shot 28%. He's shooting 13% right now, which is worse than half of what he did last year in his career year. I feel like a broken record, to quote you, when I'm asking Coach Tierney about it, and it's like, it is one of those things that Ethan Walker is too talented of a player to not know what's really going on. And I know he just got engaged, so I don't know if that's like an off the field pressure he's been feeling and something like that. And like I mentioned, like the whole NLL season, But man, it's rough. And I don't know if you can, for somebody like Ethan Walker, and I guess, the Waterdogs are a team that could afford to do it because of the talent they have. Like, is there a weekend where you just say, hey, take the weekend off? You sounded like the giant fish in the SpongeBob Olympics episode right there.
Because I'm so unsure. That's the thing. I'm
like, is
so
that
unsure
something
about
like
that.
you would say, like,
Maybe if the season's longer. But the season's so short, you kind of don't have time to take time off and get out of your groove. And no matter who it is, Tom Schreiber could be in this kind of situation. I'd be like, dude, I don't think so. It's 10 games. And then you're right into the playoffs. It's not the NLL where you got, 18, 20, whatever the amount of games are, where one game isn't always the difference. But with how tight these races are, and the fact that the Waterdogs need to win every game that they can possibly win with some help to make sure they make the playoffs, you want your squad that you're taking into the playoffs playing their best ball together.
right. But my counterpoint is, like, has Ethan Walker been a net positive in contributing to the Waterdogs' lack of success this year? Like, has he been somebody that has stood out that you can say, hey, it's going to work itself out? I don't know that you can say yes. And I don't know, like, I'm not saying he's holding them back, because there's a plethora of issues that the Waterdogs have had. But in a situation that they're in right now at 1-5, fighting for their lives to get into one of those final playoff spots, you got to have guys that are on their game on the field.
Yes. But
And I know it's different because it's a
my thing
longer
with
season too, but like in the NBA, when you have a guy that's cold, you're not putting him out on the floor.
depends. I don't care how cold LeBron James is. He's going out there.
Yeah, but Ethan
I don't
Walker's
care
not
how
LeBron
cold
James.
Anthony Davis is. But if you're a top 3, 5 guy, or arguably top 8 guy in the NBA, doesn't matter how cold you are, you're going. You're gonna figure it out. And my thing, I'm not opposed to them sitting them, but in my opinion, sit them for the year. Maybe you throw them on the protected roster here and there just to keep your
Maybe
rights.
that's what they're waiting for.
You know what I'm saying?
To
Just
get to a
don't.
point where it's 3 games that you get to put a guy on the protected roster. Like, I don't know, man. It's
No.
frustrating.
Protected keeps them from.
Right, but you can only put them on a certain amount, I thought.
No, it's when they're
Oh, when
not
they're off.
on.
It's
When
3
they're
games.
off the protected and game day for 3
Right,
weeks,
right.
then become eligible.
You're right.
So if you want to keep them, put them on the reserve.
Yeah.
You can take them off for a week if you decide to, because that doesn't kill anything, and put them back on. But
Because if there was a team that has the talent to supplement that, it's the Waterdogs. We've
sit
talked
them
about how
in.
they have an embarrassment of riches of offensive talent. Like, I feel like that's something, like, sure, Ethan Walker is a competitor and doesn't want to do, but like at this point, like, the Waterdogs need everyone possible that is clicking offensively to help them get into a playoff spot. And then, like we say in any sport, just get into the dance and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
We've seen it with the 3.2% chaos. Like, you don't know what can happen once you get in. You just have to punch your ticket to get in. And like, I have been extremely frustrated, and I don't know if it's just an off the field thing where he hasn't been able to, but I've been extremely frustrated that Jake Caraway has not been in the lineup. That's a guy that adds dimension to this team. He's one of those guys that you can rely on, that if you need a goal from range, he can do it. He can score from any angle, and it's just driven me crazy that he has not been in the lineup. Thankfully, he's back this week, and hopefully that helps shake some things up. And, you know, I think his career trajectory is still very positive. I just don't know if Matt Brandow was ready yet this season, because in the moments that we've seen him play, it's been a tough go for him. And they've obviously been playing him out of position, and I don't know if he has been just like ready for that adjustment yet. And that's probably something that Matt Brandau's just going to have to work at, this offseason when it comes. But again, Matt Brandau's the type of player, like the talent is there, the career trajectory is there. To me, he was a long-term investment in that first-round pick, and the Waterdogs need all hands on deck of guys that know how to win together, and that's why I think you need Jake Carraway in the lineup. I was thrilled from what I saw from Mikey Schlosser this week, and I'm sure you were foaming at the mouth seeing him just back out on the field. That goal he scored was amazing, and that's a guy that I want in the lineup for the Waterdogs. That's another thing for this team. The midfield inconsistencies have been absurd. They have not had the same midfield lineup once this entire season, and that's something that not every other team is dealing with. Sure, it's an embarrassment of riches. They have a plethora of guys that you want to see play, and you've had guys coming back from injury, whether it be Jack Hanna, now Mikey. Find the consistent midfield lineup and fucking go. It's one of those things that there's so many bounces that just have not gone the Waterdogs' way this year. And if there's a time to fix it, and if there's a group that can do it, it's this veteran championship tested group that can do it. And we'll see what they do starting this week with a tall task against the New York Atlas coming off a tough loss.
And they're going to need some help too from around the league to help them get in the playoffs as well. So it's an uphill battle for the Waterdogs for sure.
The Outlaws look great though. Graham Bundy Jr. is a fucking dog. And another person that I want to get on this podcast, DJ Owen McElroy. I could listen to him talk for hours.
Is he that guy?
He's so like mellow and like fun to talk to. Like he does not present himself as a goalie. He has a lot of like cursed in him from a goalie perspective. Like Kirsty doesn't feel like a goalie. He feels like a Labrador retriever. That's kind of what Owen McElroy feels like.
Doesn't feel like a goalie is hilarious. Labrador retriever is also funny.
Tell me that Colin Kirst does not feel like a Labrador retriever if you've ever spoken to Colin Kirst. We also had a double Kirst press conference for the first time.
Really?
Yeah. That was fun. We had Connor and Colin. Connor Kirst, also somebody else that I would love to have on this show. He was great. Very personable. Before we preview San Diego and get into our picks, I want to talk to you guys about our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Best merch in the game. You want to stand out in the crowd, rep OTB. PHI Apparel Company is the place to do it. It's the official home for Outside the Box podcast merch, Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch, and if you're a Philly sports fan, they've also got you covered for all your favorite Philly sports teams, plus Philadelphia-centric merch. Go to phiapparel.co. I'll be wearing my streamer season hoodie tomorrow, actually, because I'm going to see Deadpool and Wolverine at the movie theater. Perfect way to stay comfortable. Go to phiapparel.co. Click that link in the description. And when you go to checkout, you'll get 10% off your merch order when you use code Underground at checkout. That's code Underground at phiapparel.co for 10% off any order from our awesome merch partners, PHI Apparel Company. And when you get your merch, tag us in it. We'll repost it. We'll share it everywhere. But get your OTB, Underground Sports Philadelphia merch, phiapparel.co, code Underground for 10% off your order. It's San Diego weekend. What a perfect weekend. Lacrosse and Comic-Con all going down at the same time out there in San Diego, Deej. We've got Redwoods homecoming weekend going down. I know Nat is stoked to kind of get the hometown crowd vibe. I was talking to him in the press conference and on the sidelines this weekend, and obviously the video came out where he's doing cold calls to season ticket holders and homecoming pass holders, and the Redwoods have their chance to be the hometown team this weekend as they play host to two of their big rivals, the Carolina Chaos, the Maryland Whipsnakes, and we've got an awesome lineup of games. It's the Denver Outlaws and the Boston Cannons, and old school MLL showdown for the first time on ESPN at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Then the Woods play host to the Chaos at 5:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And then Sunday at 3 p.m., it's the Waterdogs and the New York Atlas on ABC. And then the Woods close out their homecoming weekend at 5:30 p.m. with the OG PLL rivalry against the Maryland Whipsnakes. What are you most looking forward to from this weekend, and what do you think is going to be something to watch for in San Diego, Deej?
This is the weirdest batch of games we're probably going to get all season. The cool thing about this is the Redwoods managed to get both of their like true rivalries in their homecoming week, so those games should be exciting. They should be somewhat close. So I think the atmosphere for this game is going to be great. I think everyone's going to enjoy it. I think this weekend is going to look fantastic. But these games are so weird, right? Like Philly, an opportunity to beat arguably the best team in the league. And they definitely can do it while arguably being the worst team in the league by record and a lot of stats too.
We saw them do it in Ohio last year.
It's so weird. But then, you turn around and you see Denver, Boston looking to keep progressing the way they've been playing. But Denver has low-key just like figured it out. Like you can see Denver was just a young team that didn't know what they were doing. And now that they've started to piece it together, they're increasingly getting better by the minute. Every minute they play together, they're getting better.
And they added Eric Law.
So like that's going to be a fun game. That's probably game of the weekend. And the only reason I say it might not be is because the Redwoods and the Whipsnakes are playing. And somehow that's always game of the weekend, even if they are somehow not the best teams in the league.
Which this year is like the first time that it's really felt like those two teams are towards the bottom.
Yeah. And it's still probably going to be one of the best games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That matchup just creates blockbuster things. Blockbuster.
Yeah,
so I'm excited.
I'm excited for Outlaws Cannons too, like you said.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So it should be a fun weekend, but all the games are so just weird.
Yeah. I think Outlaws Cannons has potential to also be like, game of the week. Both of those teams know how to sling it and can launch from two, so it could be a high-scoring affair. Two young goalies as well, which was always exciting, plus Tucci versus Weirman, I think could be absolute scenes at the Stripe. And then Chaos Redwoods is always a ton of fun. That's like what we've always said. It's like our two kids are fighting, and we just hope both teams have fun. That's going to be a great game, and it's going to be fun to watch the Redwoods play this Chaos team for a second time. They obviously played for Chaos this homecoming weekend, and the ref situation happened there. I'm excited to see these two teams get another crack at each other. And then Waterdogs Atlas, I'm shaking in my boots. The fact that the Waterdogs are in the position they're in and now have to face a Jeff Teat seeing red and seeing a Matador, shaking the win column in his face is scary. I don't know what to expect from that game, to be honest with you. Stathakis is going to have his hands full with Trevor. So we'll see. And then, like you said, Redwoods, Whipsnakes, it's another installment into just an unbelievable, organically made rivalry. It wasn't forced. It was something that just like came from the ground and has built itself up. And for it to finally take place in California, in the Redwoods backyard, that's another new wrinkle to this rivalry, is going to be a ton of fun. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I think the big thing that stands out to me is just Eric Law, and like both Graham Bundy Jr. and Owen McElroy said this, like Eric Law, like he fit right in, and they credited that to being like, you're Eric Law. You are the Denver Outlaws. Like, we're going to listen to what you have to say. You're a part of this team. And he is just fit right back in seamlessly. Like, he never left the Denver Outlaws. I'm excited to watch him just play another week with this young group and this young core that they have put together. Graham Bundy Jr. is... It's going to be tough because this rookie class is unbelievable. But, like, Graham Bundy Jr., in my opinion, is making a case to be a finalist for Rookie of the Year. He's been sensational and just continues to showcase the tool belt of talent that he has week in and week out. And they're legitimately, I know, like, Brendan O'Neill is on his team. I know Connor Schellenberger exists. But, like, Graham Bundy Jr. is making a case that he needs to be a finalist for Rookie of the Year.
I'm glad you brought up that conversation. Finalists may be a little bit tougher to pick, but if you ask me, the Rookie of the Year conversation's done. And it's been done for 2 weeks now. TJ Malone is by far the best rookie in this class. As far as production and what has been done in the PLL, not anything else. We're looking at the 7 or so games we have from every rookie right now. TJ Malone's standing out far and above everybody else. He's the Rookie of the Year. Graham Bundy's definitely making a case. BO has his case. Schellenberger has his case. Even some of these D guys, Zapatello has a case. Zupapich has a case. Marcus Hudgens has a case. But when it comes down to it, you're looking at who is truly benefiting their team the most. It's TJ Malone. But Graham is definitely Graham is sprouted. And I think the difference, Shane Knobloch, you can throw him in there as well. Liam Entenmann, obviously, and everything he did starting the year. This past weekend,
only gets affected because he didn't start.
And he came down this past weekend.
Yeah.
This past weekend was a real big drop for him. But but Bundy he really only didn't start this way because he didn't have the benefit that TJ Malone had. TJ Malone was just slotted into a system that had so much around him in terms of experience. You've got Chaney. You've got Bernlor, Matt Moore, Zed Williams. You have guys there that have played and have been successful in this league. You just got to feed off of them. And he's done a great job of doing that. So Graham on the other side is just more so, hey, the oldest guy is that guy over there is 3-4 years older than you. Y'all got to figure this out. And as he started to figure it out and the team started to figure it out, he's really started to shine. And we see more of the Graham Bundy Jr. we saw in Georgetown and why he got drafted as high as he did.
Yeah, I think, like, it's interesting with Graham Bundy Jr., like, that first game against Chaos, he had 0 points. But against the Archers, scores 2 points, gets his first goal, gets his first assist, kind of gets his feet under him. And then against the Redwoods, he has that 5-point performance. 3-1 point. He has the hat trick, and he has the 2-pointer. Shoots 57%. Then the Outlaws as a team just got embarrassed by the Atlas in that game before the All-Star break, and nobody had a good game. And then against the Waterdogs, another 5-point performance, 2 2-pointers, 1 solo goal on 6 shots, shoots 50%. 3 of those shots were on goal. Like, he's a player to me that has the tools in his tool bag to be the type of guy that can take over a game at the flip of a switch. And that's exciting for the Outlaws to have that. And to see, in his young career, in 5 games, he's had 2 5-point games already. That's nothing to sneeze at in the PLL. To have a 5-point performance, you're having a great day. And to have that twice already in 5 games is pretty fucking impressive. And I know we mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Like, I'm all the way bought in on my Graham Bundy Jr. stock. He's one of my favorite players in the league right now. He's like my new Cross Ferrara. But, like, it wouldn't shock me at all if he is a Rookie of the Year finalist. But yes, you bring up a great point. TJ Malone, 100%. I agree with you. Is the rookie of the year. But I think it's those four are probably your finalists right now. If the season ended today, I would say it's Brennan O'Neill, Shelley, TJ Malone, and Graham Bundy Jr., which kudos to Graham Bundy. That's fucking impressive for a second round pick, falling to them where he did. And he's so fun. He's a fun player to watch. And if you're not watching Graham Bundy Jr., you should be. Should we get to our picks, Deej?
Let's do it.
We'll head on over to the pick pond and dish out our PLL San Diego picks of the week, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny Finders. He's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland areas. You can also get it at your local liquor stores in those markets. Check out the Kenny storefront for the great merch and apparel and those awesome pint glasses. It's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Deej, we start Redwoods homecoming weekend. Not with the Redwoods. It is an MLL classic, the Outlaws, the Cannons on ESPN. How do you see things playing out?
I know it's probably way too late, but PLL, can we get them in MLL jerseys for this game? Until the league truly expands, can this game be one game a year where we get MLL jerseys? It's just Denver versus Boston MLL jerseys. I think that would be cool. Kind of brings that old history back into things. But speaking of old history, a man that's going to be on the sideline that is used to be on the sideline with Marcus Holman is Will Manny. He's going to be
bad boys.
Not going to be playing. He's on the protected roster, but he's back on the sideline. And they've been playing good ball. Pat Cavanaugh is back out on the field this week. This game's going to be close, though. Like we just talked about, Graham Bundy's cooking. Eric Law helping this Denver team out, coming over into the fold. Brennan O'Neill waking up. It's going to be a lot closer than people think, but I got Boston taking care of business.
Also, I know we said it felt like Pat Cav might not play again next year, and I don't know if he was there, but part of the reason he was probably out of the lineup last week was Notre Dame went to the White House.
Yes,
I didn't see that. I didn't see him in any of the pictures, which was funny. I was trying to look and see if he was there. Ryder was there, Entenmann was there, but I didn't see Pat in any of the pictures. But I'm sure he was there. But that's probably why he was out of line. I'm actually going with the Outlaws in this game, Deej. I like the way they've been playing. I like the addition of Eric Law to give them that dimension and that veteran leadership on the field. And I think this game is going to be extremely close. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. And genuinely, it sounds stupid to say, but it's going to come down to whichever team hits more 2-pointers.
I 100% agree.
These are the two teams that are like the 2-point titans right now. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm going with the Outlaws to keep their good times rolling. We head to the first of two for the Redwoods as they host the Carolina Chaos. How you see this one playing out, Deej?
The offense has been struggling. And if there's one guy that you can't give easy saves to, it's Blaze Riordan. And I think the Redwoods are going to give him some easy saves, which means he's going to get cooking. It's going to be hard to score. There is still rivalry based into this game, emotion and such. It may be a little closer than I think it should be. But it hurts to say Chaos is going to win this one.
Yeah, I have Chaos winning this one as well. I think it's going to be very low scoring in this one. Like you said, with Blaze involved. And, just two offenses that are not putting up the most point production per se. Chaos haven't really scored that high this year either. But I do have Chaos winning this first one here. Then we move to Sunday on ABC at 3 p.m. The Philadelphia Waterdogs, the New York Atlas. I'm riding with the boys until they get it right. But until they get it right, I I don't know how I can pick them to win. Like, they haven't given me a reason to pick them to win. Like, they have just driven me clinically insane. And I said it on Underground Sports Philadelphia too. Like, it sucks when on that show I can kind of peel back and be more of a fan than just an overarching, like, national type of show. It's hard to introduce a team to a city like Philadelphia when they're losing the way that they're losing. People will be like, hey, I have other things to pay attention to. We have a great baseball team right now. Paul George just signed with the Sixers. Eagles training camp's underway. Why am I going to invest energy into a 1-5 team? To which I say, keep believing. Like, this team is very talented, but I'm terrified of a New York Atlas team coming off a loss. So I got to go with the Atlas.
I was going to go with Atlas, whether they came off a loss or a win. I think this one comes down to Atlas being the best team in the league with the best face-off guy in the league. Stathakis hasn't seen anything like Trevor yet, and he's about to get, in my opinion, a true welcome to the PLL. Because Trevor also didn't do great last week. Like, he did fine. He did normal. Like, he was good. But there were some that he got, wiped clean. And it was just like, what is happening? So I don't think that happens again. And the Waterdogs are in for a very tough matchup this weekend. Bulls are running.
Yeah, mind you, the last time the Atlas lost, which was to the Whipsnakes, 16-12. The following week in Boston was when they won 17-4 against the Outlaws. So I'm just going to go jump off the wall. Parody. Anyway, final game, 5:30 p.m. Whipsnakes, Redwoods. Guess what, Deej? I think there's still hope. I think there's still a little glimmer of hope for the Woods, and it starts in this game. You want to talk about a game that can help turn around the rest of your season and push you forward to potentially get in one of those final playoff spots. What better way to do it than beating your top rival at home to close out your homecoming weekend in an opportunity where in years past the Redwoods have kind of been shaky and under 500, but the Whipsnakes have been that dominant team. This Whipsnakes team is vulnerable. You can beat them. They're not, a juggernaut per se. They're still talented, but they're beatable. I'm going with the Woods.
You got so much more faith than I do. And the only reason I'm not picking the Woods in this game is because they have done historically awful against the Whipsnakes. I think they have beaten the Whipsnakes once, and don't even quote me on that because it might be 0. And
no, they beat them in where was it? Minnesota? The one year, but it was like everyone was hurt.
So once. Great.
I'm doing some research for everybody.
That makes me feel so confident. Newsflash, y'all, that was great sarcasm. I'm not confident at all in this team to go out and win that game.
The Redwoods beat the Whipsnakes in 2019, 14-11 down at Atlanta. I was there for that one.
I can't do it. I can't. I gotta go with
the Whips.
I am, because it's more about them going to be tired, along with not having good history against the Whipsnakes. Whipsnakes are coming into a rivalry game rested, ready to go. You're coming into a rivalry game, off of a rivalry game, tired. And you haven't been playing well this year on top of that. It truly hurts to say my team's going to go 0-2 in their homecoming, but I truly hope I'm wrong. Truly hope I'm wrong.
So there you have it, everyone. Our picks of the week brought to you by Kenwood Beer. DJ has Boston, Carolina, New York, and Maryland. I have Denver, Carolina, New York, and California. And those are your PLL San Diego picks of the week brought to you by Kenwood Beer. I am actively doing research here for the people on the Whipsnakes thing here. But Deej, while I do that, do you want to tell everybody about our Olympics podcast that is premiering tonight as we record this?
So, people, the time has commenced. The thing that happens every technically 2 years, if we want to be technical, because the winter comes 2 years after the summer comes, but every 4 years for the summer, we're back. The Olympics are here. There's no baseball, sad face, but we got breakdancing, we got kayaking, we got basketball, we got track and field, we got swimming. I think there's taekwondo this year again. There's wrestling. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be doing tons of streams for the primetime events. We're going to be having pods out, letting you know about things that we noticed, some things we're looking forward to, getting a recap of everything that's going on, keeping you updated with the medal count, and just general knowledge, talking points, banter about what's going on in the Olympics. It's one of the best parts of sports is the Olympics every 4 years, watching countries battle it out for the best in their sport. So I'm just excited. We're gonna be banging it out. It's what is it, light the torch?
Light the flame.
Light the flame. Light the flame. You already know where to find us. Underground Sports Philadelphia on YouTube. Look us up, Light the Flame on Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get that stuff. We're going to be pumping out content like crazy over the next, 3 weeks to a month, I think it is. The Olympics is a long time, but we're here. We're ready for it. We're going to be talking all kinds of betting lines and such. So anything you're going to need for the Olympics, your peoples at Underground Sports Philadelphia have you covered. I mean, I'm going to be on there. KB, Stevie Mac, Owen, and Carly are going to be popping in and out.
Casey.
Sorry, Casey. Yes. Carly is
Kicks by Carly.
Too many C's around here. C's and K's. It's all the same. Christian, another C, going to be making his way on the pod. I'm sure Dom and or Matt will be popping in as well. Maybe big star Ben gets off the tour and comes and chills out with us. Patty Pitts, of course. So it's going to be a rock star party, man. And there's no reason for you guys not to be absolutely locked in with us for the whole ride of the Olympics.
From what I can see, because I can't find last year, unless I just glossed over it. Oh, here we go. So all time in the regular season, not including 2020, Redwoods are 2-4 against the Whips in the regular season.
Exactly. You want me to have faith in these dudes.
But yeah, like Deej said, subscribe to Light the Flame, Apple, Spotify on audio, and we will be doing live companion streams for the primetime events. We'll be doing quick 12 to 15-minute recap episodes literally almost every day, recapping the day's events, like Deej said, medal counts, all that good stuff. We're working on getting some guests on board as well, whether it's during or after the Olympic Games. And it's all brought to you by Shopify, which is pretty fucking cool. So shout out to Shopify for hopping on board with us with their affiliate program. Click the link in the description and get your storefront going, whether it's in person or online. Shopify is the best place to do it. They are the #1 global leader in e-commerce, and you recognize that green bag anywhere you go. Click the link in the description. Get your Shopify storefront going today. Plus, if you're a YouTuber and you're selling merch, Shopify is easily integrated if you're in the YouTube partner program. So definitely use Shopify. And thank you to Shopify for supporting the pod. Deej, we got some quick hitters here. We'll start with the good news. The Ottawa Black Bears jersey reveal is here.
Beautiful.
And I think we all agree, because we both usually agree with this, and it is always brought to our attention by our good pal Jerry Raganese, which, Jerry, come on the fucking podcast, pal.
We're waiting.
I just wish the Bear didn't have the lacrosse ticket. We said this when the logo was revealed. But your overall thoughts, let's break it all down with the jersey and the details of the Ottawa Black Bears inaugural uniform.
Let me pull this thing up real quick. At first glance, I absolutely loved it. I think it's beautiful. At the little bit that I got out of it. Come on, Twitter. I'm glad there's some more red. But I do. First off, I miss the teal already.
Mm-hmm.
Miss the teal and blue already. Insanely miss it. Noseworthy just signed, so that's awesome. Oh, the white is beautiful. I hadn't seen it. I hadn't gotten a glimpse of the white at all, and I love it. I love it. First off, the secondary logo with the maple leaf and the bear paw on the shoulders for both jerseys. Awesome touch. Awesome touch. And then you have the indigenous and the ties to the culture at the bottom, which I thought was a great touch
Love that
into
touch.
being in Ottawa and paying respects back to the beginning of the game. The red eyes really pop on both jerseys. The black collars awesome on both jerseys. They did a great job of integrating these colors. The little bit of gold is awesome. They used just enough of it to not use too much, but still make it pop and really just take the lacrosse stick out of this logo. And this is arguably a perfect jersey, in my opinion.
My only flaws. Obviously, we broke this down when the logo was revealed. The lacrosse stick doesn't need to be there, and the bear looks like it got punched in the right eye, but that's just like a detail semantics thing. I love the font as well. The number font and the lettering font is great. It's legible. It's great. It's huge. Love it. This isn't an Ottawa Black Bears thing. It's just a league thing. I feel like we're starting to overutilize paw prints. I feel like we dove into that pond right into the deep end, and feels like every team is using them now that has the ability to use them. But I do like the uniqueness of incorporating the Canadian maple in the paw print. So good uniqueness there. But I do think teams as a whole, we need to slow down on the adjective mammals and slow down on paw prints. I love the indigenous touch on the jersey as well. And like you said, the white jersey looks great. And you know how critical I am of a white uniform. It is very good. The gold looks better on the white, in my opinion. And apparently our guy, Tyson Geik, said that everything looks better with the full kit, gloves, helmet, and everything. I'm excited to see that.
I think it looks fine already. But
Deej on a jersey rating scale, which is obviously different than the Drake Porter Do Review scale, what do you give the Black Bears uniform?
8. Just solid 8. And I'm purely knocking 2 points for the lacrosse stick. 2 whole points for it. It's just we have to get away from that. There aren't too many basketball logos with a basketball in it or a rim. People know. There aren't too many football logos with football in them. People know. There aren't even really soccer logos with soccer balls in them. People know.
And if they are, they're done well.
Yeah, not like almost just like you can tell it's almost like crappy Photoshop.
Yeah, it's clip arty.
Very.
I give the black uniform This is a unique thing. You don't typically get this from me. Black uniform gets a 7-8. I think it's solid. It's good. And this can obviously change when I see them in person. But initial look at just the jersey, 7-8 on the black, 8-1 on the white.
The white's definitely better than the black. The white I give a 9, and I'm only knocking 1 point for the
white makes the gold usage better than the black.
Yes,
I also, as a whole, my big issue too with this is I want more teams to do like what the Thunderbirds have done. Have your jerseys look a little different. I get wanting to showcase your logo and everything, but like your home and away jersey looks different in every sport. Let it look a little different. The way that Halifax has the giant Thunderbird head logo on their home purple jerseys, but then they have like the hockey style, like Halifax or Thunderbirds, whatever it is, going diagonal on the white jerseys. I like that uniqueness to a uniform, and I wish more teams would adopt that. So that's where my scores come in. So 7-9 and 8-1. That averages out to an 8. Bada bing, bada boom. Congrats to the Ottawa Black Bears. I genuinely like them. Like, that's not a bad score for me whatsoever. Like, I like the white one I would wear.
Okay.
And that's strong coming from me. Like the white one that's a jersey I would wear. The black one, I want to see it in person more. I like it, but I do like the white utilization of all the color palette that much more than I do with the black. The gold kind of gets lost a little bit for me in the black uniform. But I do like the welcoming back of red into the league. Thank Christ. Speaking of, Deej, are you gonna have to find a new NLL team?
I don't know.
Christian Del Bianco saying goodbye to Calgary. Hey, this just says that Christian Del Bianco listened to that episode of the pod where you were comparing the Roughnecks to the Pistons and say, I gotta get the fuck out of Dodge before I get got.
I mean, is it my turn to get the fuck out of Dodge before I get got? At this point, like, man, they literally took my 2 favorite players from the Roughnecks and said, "Hey, yeah, we're done with you. We're done with you." But I will say this: sometimes you do have to change over the guard. We know this. We know this. But I don't know if you change over the guard like this.
This to me is
your most
more
all-around player, and arguably the best goalie in the NLL. Those are like 2 guys you try and lock down, and then you go and move some other pieces to try and bring something in to help.
So
but okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say I did read an article from somebody. I forget what the outlet was. I apologize if I find it. We'll link it in the description. So Christian wants to spend more time with his 9-to-5 job, where he's running Del Bianco. I think it's construction. Apologies, Christian, friend of the program. And he's getting married as well this year. So he wants to be closer to home in Coquitlam, which is closer to Vancouver. Where if he's playing, say, for the Vancouver Warriors, he's only traveling 9 times a season for the road games, where if he's in Calgary, he's traveling all 18. This is again where the entire sport of lacrosse still has a long way to go to where these guys don't have to work a 9-to-5. So it is more a Christian Del Bianco decision than, say, the Calgary Roughnecks decision. Calgary Roughnecks are placing the franchise tag on Christian Del Bianco. If they don't work out a trade for him, he's sitting out the season. That's basically what it's going to boil down to, because he's not going to play.
So now I think I might be running.
Now it's on Calgary to find the trade package to.
But that says a lot. That says a lot. Hey, I'm just not going to play.
For personal reasons, obviously.
I mean, I get it, but like, man, he'd rather just not play than go back. That's what I'm getting out of this.
At least that's how I read it. I could be wrong, but that's how I read it.
I mean,
and how I would assume it to kind of be, where you put a goodbye to Calgary on your Instagram already.
Right.
That's how I interpreted it.
You're right. It's very early for a goodbye unless you're not coming back. So I don't know. I'm gonna stick it out for the year. I will say that. I will stick it out for this year.
We have to find a sponsor to sell a hunt for Deej's new favorite team again.
No,
everyone back in the bowl.
I can stick it out for another year, and we can see what it is we have cooking.
But don't be surprised, everyone, when mid-January rolls around and DJ's like, Warriors, come out to play.
But I don't know if I'm going to be a Warriors fan. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know about all that, y'all.
They got Kurt. They might have Christian Del Bianco.
They have who?
Kurt Malosky.
Oh, yeah, they do got Kurt, my boy.
Who we just casually walked by Final Four weekend.
So crazy. We both were just like it.
I was stunned you didn't stop.
You knew exactly who it was. And like it took my brain a second to load. I walked by and I was like, homie looks mad familiar. And then and I really looked at him, and then I looked at you, and you were like, that's Kurt Malosky, right? I was like, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I was like, I'm gonna turn around. And I was like, nah, that man with his family trying to enjoy the weekend. I'm gonna let him be.
So we will see how things play out with Christian Del Bianco in this saga with Calgary, and what may happen, what may not happen. But we're gonna get up on out of here. I am exhausted. We're gonna get ready for our Olympic stream. Myself, Casey, and Owen, and Sarah, and a whole bunch of other people I knew were at the Maybe Man tour last night at the Wells Fargo Center for AJR. Spectacular concert. If they're coming to your city still on their tour, fucking go. Do yourself a favor. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to in my life. So I'm going to get up on out of here. Deej is going to get up on out of here. We're going to prep for the Olympics in prime time. Be sure to follow us on the socials at OTB Laxpod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook. Check out Underground Sports Philadelphia on LinkedIn. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps more people find Outside the Box and Underground Sports Philadelphia. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia and at OTB Laxpod. Subscribe. And, of course, click the link in the description. Register for an event with Shootout For Soldiers. See how you can donate, volunteer, everything in between. They're simply the best. Go check them out. Click the link in the description. Stay tuned for more Hero of the Week content coming out on the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel and all of our socials. And this has been episode number 333, a palindrome episode of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course, viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy Redwoods homecoming weekend, and we'll see how we're feeling about our squads next week as we get set for Baltimore, Deej's inaugural trip to Homewood Field. But until then,
and I will be there this time for sure. For sure.
Jimmy Seafood. We'll see you next week. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we are signing off. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.